The school's top student kneeled in the bathroom every day. Then his new housemate rewrote his schedule with her fists. The story begins abruptly. Without warning, Mom introduces a stranger, casually dropping a bombshell before Jae-hyuk can even react. "It's my house." Mom's ultimatum leaves Jae-hyuk sweating and screaming internally, powerless to object. Amidst the excruciating awkwardness, he stammers a greeting, while the girl extends her hand with effortless confidence. Her name is Lee Min-chai, her smile as bright as spring sunshine. Looking at this innocent face, who could guess this would be the turning point of Jae-hyuk's fate? "Nice to meet you." Unlike her enthusiasm, Jae-hyuk's fingers tremble, cheeks burning and eyes averting. He stammers his introduction, looking exactly like a frightened rabbit. Just like that, the second floor became her territory. The storage space was cleared out, and two teenagers with nothing in common suddenly found themselves living under the same roof. Bad news comes in waves. Just when Jae-hyuk thought the trouble was confined to his home, Min-chai casually drops the next bombshell. She's transferring to his school tomorrow. Jae-hyuk's eyes widen in sheer panic. The next morning, as Mom leaves for work, the air instantly freezes. Jae-hyuk stands paralyzed, panic rising, but before his internal scream of "I can't handle girls" can finish, a voice calls out from behind. Min-chai rummages through her pockets, pulls out a cigarette, and casually asks for a light. The question strikes Jae-hyuk like lightning. His jaw drops, his face a mask of utter disbelief. "Don't you have a lighter, dumbass?" Seeing her impatiently hands on hips and hearing her tone turn harsh, Jae-hyuk shudders. This is no sweet girl. She's clearly trouble. Silence makes the air even thinner. Faced with her razor-sharp gaze, Jae-hyuk breaks into a cold sweat, his throat constricted, too terrified to utter a single word of protest. Watching the submissive boy, Min-chai smirks and spits out the word. "Are you perhaps a loser?" That single word strikes with surgical precision, stabbing straight into Jae-hyuk's deepest wound. Loser. The word explodes in his mind like a curse. His memory is violently dragged back to that malicious school, where the laughter is far more piercing than the bell. There, he is the punchline. Pinned down by a heavy arm, surrounded by unrestrained mockery, he grinds his teeth and screams, "I'm not," in his heart, yet remains trapped in this cruel reality. The nightmare began at the start of the semester. Sangbom, the red-haired bully, smiled, asking for banana milk one second, only to snap violently the next, shoving Jae-hyuk hard when he refused. "Why did you hit me?" Jae-hyuk clutches his swollen face, asking in terror. But beneath Sangbom's murderous gaze and cruel laughter, reasons don't matter at all. "Because you talk back, loser." As fists rain down, Jae-hyuk finally realizes that in this dog-eat-dog world, simply looking vulnerable makes his very existence a mistake. Even forgetting to buy bread becomes an excuse for violence. Chewing on his bun, Sangbom smiles and throws a punch, disguising his bullying as so-called punishment. The twisted game begins. "How many hits do you want?" Sangbom toys with him like a cat with a mouse, forcing the trembling Jae-hyuk to choose his own torture, only to maliciously multiply it. "Teacher's coming." The shout pauses the beating but doesn't dispel the fear. Sangbom smiles and pats his face. The whisper "will finish this later" plunges Jae-hyuk deeper into the abyss of despair. The memory is shattered by a slam on the podium. The teacher announces a new transfer student, and crisp footsteps echo from the hallway. Jae-hyuk snaps his head up, a sense of foreboding rising. She's here. As the girl introduces herself with a radiant smile, Jae-hyuk stands frozen, his jaw dropping in sheer disbelief at this sudden reunion. Her confidence captivates the room, but for Jae-hyuk, it's a nightmare unfolding. The fighter girl from upstairs is now in his class. The teacher scans for a seat and points behind Jae-hyuk. Min-chai follows the gaze, a spark of recognition flashing as she studies his back. Fate is cruel. Min-chai recognizes the loser from downstairs, her whispered disdain making Jae-hyuk wish the floor would swallow him whole. His mother's request to take care of her mocks him now. Suddenly, a poke at his back makes him spin around in panic, dreading what comes next. With a mischievous smirk, Min-chai flicks a paper projectile that flies like a bullet, striking Jae-hyuk square in the face before he can react. The note reading, "Don't act like you know me," stings. Jae-hyuk grits his teeth, tearing the paper to shreds as he swallows his humiliation and rage. Yet, he can't ignore his mother's wish. Watching him leave, Min-chai picks up the scattered paper scraps, a look of puzzlement crossing her face. It pieces together into a hand-drawn map, filled with thoughtful notes like tasty sandwiches and loose railings, leaving Min-chai stunned by his clumsy kindness. But elsewhere, Jae-hyuk faces a brutal reality. Threatened by a bully, He throws a desperate punch, but his resistance feels pathetic against the predator. Sangbom taps his cheek patronizingly, leaning in with a smile. His gentle tone is far more terrifying than violence. Don't worry, I won't hit you again. It's the whisper of a devil. Sangbom's arm drapes over his shoulder, snake-like eyes locking onto Jaehyuk. Heard you're smart. Do me a favor. Mockery echoes through the hall as Sangbom insults him, before suddenly gripping Jaehyuk's wrist, his voice turning ice-cold and demanding. Help me with the midterms. The absurd demand leaves Jaehyuk stunned. To this lunatic, cheating seems as natural as breathing. Cheat sheets. Jaehyuk tries to protest with school rules, only to be met with Sangbom's careless laughter. I'm going to study abroad. Sangbom rambles on about his dream of escaping Korea, treating Jaehyuk's safety and future as nothing more than stepping stones for his freedom. The joking stops. Sangbom's fingers dig viciously into Jaehyuk's throat, choking off the air as his eyes turn murderous. You doing it or not? Before he can answer, a brutal kick slams into Jaehyuk's stomach, sending him flying like a rag doll as a pain scream tears from his throat. Jaehyuk curls up on the floor in agony, while Sangbom sits above him, looking down like he's nothing but a stray dog. Last chance. Yes or no? Forced to look down at the encroaching shoes, Jaehyuk clutches his collar in humiliation. He spits out his surrender, while his heart screams in silent, impotent rage. Sangbom smiles casually, claiming his departure abroad is a favor. The cruel joke pierces Jaehyuk. Sweat mixes with tears as he stares in disbelief at the audacity. Jaehyuk's pained expression triggers a switch. Sangbom's smile twists into a snarl, and he lashes out with a sudden, brutal punch, demanding the victim fix his face. Pain explodes as blood gushes through his fingers. Cowering and broken, Jaehyuk sobs, forced to apologize to his tormentor through a mask of blood and tears. As the tormentors walk away laughing, leaving chaos behind, a dark realization crystallizes in Jaehyuk's mind. Words are useless. Only violence can reach a monster like that. Kneeling alone on the cold bathroom tiles, shadowed by despair. As insults echo outside, his pride as a top student crumbles, replaced by a desperate craving for the power to fight back. The setting sun bathes the school in a cruel, beautiful gold. The serene view stands in stark contrast to Jaehyuk's battered face, marking the end of a hellish day. Night falls, and the warmth of home offers a brief respite. But his mother's casual request to call Minchai for dinner sends Jaehyuk into a panic, his eyes widening in sheer terror. Protests are futile. Under the same roof, he must face his terrifying classmate. Every step up the stairs echoes with the heavy thud of his skyrocketing anxiety. Standing before the door, Jaehyuk knocks tentatively. Hearing a faint enter from within, he hesitates, then grips the handle, mistaking the sound for permission. The door opens to reveal Minchai, wrapped in a towel and singing to herself. Time freezes, then shatters as her shock explodes in a fury. You pervert! A scream, a blur of motion, and a kettle flies like a missile. It strikes true. Before he can explain, darkness claims Jaehyuk, and he hits the floor with a heavy thud. The world spins. Consciousness drifts. Through the haze, he feels someone not so gently slapping his leg, trying to wake the corpse. Pain jolts him awake, only to find Minchai stepping on his foot with a look of utter disgust. Her looming figure radiates contempt. Wake up, loser! Jaehyuk bolts up in panic, mind blank. Minchai, arms crossed, coldly recounts the knockout, following up with the accusation that seals his doom. Are you a pervert? Facing Minchai's stormy rage, Jaehyuk cowers in the corner. Stammering, he uses his mother as a shield, desperately trying to survive the fighter girl's lethal aura. Explanations fail. Minchai's final verdict, disgusting creep, hits harder than a fist. Face burning, Jaehyuk sinks into silence, crushed by shame and misunderstanding. Yet, cut to the dinner table, and the atmosphere is bizarrely harmonious. Minchai transforms completely, savoring the food with delight and praising his mother's cooking. The violence of moments ago vanished. Watching Minchai act the part of the perfect sweet girl, flashing hearts at his mom, Jaehyuk twitches in disbelief. The sheer contrast leaves him reeling. Does this woman have a split personality? At the dinner table, Minchai's sugary voice sends shivers down Jaehyuk's spine. The violent fighter from earlier is now playing the perfect, polite guest, leaving him bewildered by the terrifying contrast. At the mention of studying, Jaehyuk nearly jumps out of his skin, forgetting to chew. Minchai blushes, perhaps feeling a twinge of embarrassment at her own clumsy excuse. Then, Minchai drops a bombshell. Her grandfather promised her a building if she gets into a Seoul university. The staggering reward freezes the air, leaving even Jae-hyuk visibly envious. She clenches her fist, eyes sparkling with the dream of becoming a landlord. Having only known sports her whole life, she needs a powerful reason to tackle the foreign wilderness of academics. Suddenly, Minchai slaps Jae-hyuk's shoulder hard enough to nearly shatter his glasses. With a sinister smile, she announces she's found the perfect tutor, the school's top student sitting right there. He's the top student? Minchi's eyes widen as she scans Jae-hyuk's ordinary face, her expression screaming disbelief, as if intelligence shouldn't belong to someone looking so weak. His father's proud praise only makes the air thicker with awkwardness, silencing his mother. As dinner ends and night falls, the moon rises, but the silence outside barely conceals the undercurrents about to burst. Watching Minchai bow respectfully to his mother, Jae-hyuk breaks into a cold sweat. While his mom beams with affection, he can't wrap his head around the girl's terrifying ability to switch between violence and politeness. Sure enough, the moment the adults are gone, Minchai drops the mask. She corners Jae-hyuk in the dim stairwell, her voice carrying a chilling command that allows no refusal, a hunter locking onto prey. They reach the deserted outdoor steps, where Minchai squats wearily and expertly lights a cigarette. The polite act is gone, replaced by the raw, gloomy aura of a street-hardened girl. Amidst the swirling smoke, she looks up and barks a command, "Teach me how to study." Staring at the delinquent before him, Jae-hyuk is once again dumbfounded, cold sweat dripping down his face. No, at Jae-hyuk's flat refusal, Minchai snaps, desperate enough to offer a cut of her future fortune, her roar mixing anger with a plea for help to break his resistance. Jae-hyuk trembles, yet his eyes hold a rare firmness. The trauma of constant bullying fuels his resolve as he draws the line. "I hate bullies, so I will never teach a bully how to study." Dropping those words, he turns and flees up the stairs, leaving Minchai alone in the moonlight, gritting her teeth and cursing in frustration at his retreating back. To turn the tide, Minchai plays her ace, introducing him to her hot friends. Though Jae-hyuk scoffs internally, dismissing them as bullies' friends, his feet involuntarily slow down at the temptation. "She's got huge boobs." The tempting shout strikes like lightning. Jae-hyuk slams on the brakes mid-run, his teenage willpower taking a devastating hit from the sudden, crude offer. In the end, desire wins. Sweating profusely, he turns back to accept the offer, only to spot uninvited guests on the street below, shattering the comical negotiation with sudden tension. These are real predators. A tattooed thug approaches Minchai with a lewd grin and sleazy pickup lines, the dim streetlights casting a disturbing pall over the scene as danger looms. Minchai coldly rejects the thugs surrounding her, but they clearly won't take no for an answer. Watching from above, Jae-hyuk's previous excitement instantly turns to terror. Things are about to get very ugly. Thugs surround Minchai, the leader roughly grabbing her wrist with a disgusting leer. Hiding in the shadows, Jae-hyuk sweats profusely, fingers trembling as he dials the police, only to hear Minchai submissively agree. Thinking he's caught his prey, the thug laughs triumphantly and tries to drag her away. Unbeknownst to him, Minchai's lips curl into a playful, inscrutable smile in the shadows. In a flash, Minchai drives a vicious knee straight into his gut. Watching through his phone screen, Jae-hyuk's eyes widen in sheer terror, his heart pounding at the sudden explosion of violence. The once arrogant man collapses, groaning in agony with a twisted face. Minchai towers over him. Her gaze is cold, as if she were looking at trash, devoid of mercy. She knocked him out with just a knee. Jae-hyuk watches in disbelief. The thug's accomplice roars in fury and charges, shattering the brief silence to avenge his partner. Facing the charging thug, Minchai doesn't retreat, but instantly drops her weight into a professional fighting stance. Jae-hyuk recognizes that aura immediately. It's the stance of a black belt. Fists fly but hit nothing but air. Minchai moves like a ghost, delivering a crushing blow that instantly distorts the enemy's face, his scream tearing through the night as he flies backward. The air tears apart with a sharp sound, the speed suffocatingly fast. She dives like a falcon, her iron fist crashing mercilessly into his face. Blood sprays, and the sickening sound of cracking bones fills the air, a brutal display of violence. In an instant, another one falls. Minchai stands over the unconscious opponent, chest heaving slightly, her clenched fist signaling the fight isn't over yet as danger hangs in the air. This is insane. Jae-hyuk covers his mouth, trembling all over. The remaining muscular bald thug stares at his fallen comrades, erupting with a beast-like roar of fury, vowing to tear her apart. The bald man charges like a mad bull, screaming about his lifting stats and taekwondo rank, trying to overwhelm the slender girl with sheer intimidation, sweat flying with his roar. But brute force means nothing against technique. Minchai nimbly dodges the heavy punch, leaps up, and instantly locks the giant in a chokehold, rendering his strength useless. With a dull, heavy thud, the massive body crashes to the ground. Minchai lands steadily, standing over the last unconscious thug as the dust settles. Silence descends upon the alley once more, with 3 burly men lying scattered. From above, Jae-hyuk's mind goes blank, pupils shaking, unable to process the incredible scene before him. Minchi's smiling words about only doing sports since childhood echo in his mind. Jae-hyuk gulps, cold sweat sliding down, realizing this is the true nature of the sport she meant. As he stands dazed, Minchai snaps her head up and spots him. Facing her sharp question, Jae-hyuk stammers, finally asking the burning question, what sport? Do you actually practice? Minchai pauses, surprised by the question. Standing amidst the fallen thugs, her eyes terrifyingly calm, she coldly spits out the answer, martial arts. Watching this scene, Jae-hyuk's memory is instantly dragged back to those moments of humiliation. The version of himself that was trampled underfoot, helpless and at the mercy of others. Painful memories flood back, but within his clenched fist, a spark of unprecedented desire ignites. This could be the only turning point to change his miserable fate. Realizing this is his only chance to change his fate, Jae-hyuk suppresses his trembling. Amidst the unconscious bodies, he calls out to the bewildered Minchai, Lee Minchai, I'll teach you how to study. In the suffocating silence, he delivers the desperate condition. In return, teach me how to fight. Their gazes lock in a tense pact, marking the start of the ultimate fighting tutoring. As the curtain falls on this fateful encounter, Jae-hyuk's path of resistance has only just begun. Chapter 1 concludes, but the real challenges for the boy seeking strength await.